welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. You know what Christy Mathewson wasn't worried about? SIERA. When you're thinking about Pedro Siriaco, I mean, the only one that can compete is maybe Hannes Wagner's 1908 season. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran.
Like, if we just clip together every time we've talked about him on other people's profiles, we've done a Mickey Cochran episode.
I can't get past Rabbit Marinville. It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio. We're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there to my actual right is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing well. It feels like we had quite a lot happen over the last few days. Both wild card pictures have really changed a lot. There's only one out of the four there's no certain wild card teams. Like, there's no team that we're like, they're playing in the wild card game for sure.
Yeah, and there's no certain grouping of wild card teams either. Like 2 weeks ago, you know, when you're talking about the NL wild card race, It's like, all right, Reds Padres, it's going to be a battle.
Yeah.
And now the Cardinals are in sole possession of that spot.
Yeah, the Cardinals were, tell me if you've heard this before, but the Cardinals were basically left for dead in the month of August.
Right.
And they've come storming back to reclaim, not to reclaim, but to claim the NL wildcard spot for right now. I believe they lead it by one game. They've won their last, I think, 5. Yeah,
they've won 7 out of 8 as well. Yeah. And, it's weird because, you know, the Cardinals have been doing well over the past, week. But I think it's also the lack of good performance on both of the other sides of the wild card race with the Padres and Reds not doing well. Padres, we know why, because they're facing a very tough schedule.
Yeah.
Reds are just, they're not facing the best of competition, but they're performing very, very badly.
So August 6th was the day that the Cardinals started turning it around. Since August 6th, they are 23-14, which is excellent. And at the same time, the Reds are 17-20. The Padres are 13-22. It's kind of just been a matter of they've been playing well while at the same time everyone else is playing poorly.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. The Reds the Cardinals have been steadily just being a little better. Paul Goldschmidt, by the way, one of the better hitters of the past month, and he's coming right for that 880 OPS. I hope he hits it on the dot this year. It's definitely a good part of the show when Goldschmidt's going for that 880. But yeah, I think it's definitely been a combination. I have a couple of stats.
Let's hear the stats.
And when I mean a couple, I really mean just maybe two. As I pull it up here. So, yeah, Cardinals won 7 out of 8. In their past 8 games, they have a 2.43 ERA. What also should be noted is they have a 4.09 FIP. So there's a solid difference there. One of the specifics was, I think, in this 8-game span, John Lester's made 2 starts. He has an ERA under 3, but a 6.7 FIP. So, it's funny. Pitching wise, I don't know. A 2.43 ERA is just hard to sustain in general, but especially with the FIP, it might be difficult. And the Reds, on the flip side, I mentioned it to you before the show. They've with the Pirates, they've already lost their series to the Pirates. We're recording as they're playing currently, so apologies if stats on them are a little outdated, as they're playing a 12:30 game. But in their last 20 games, and they lost the series against the Pirates. That makes it 7 in a row that they've lost. And in their last 20 games, heading into Thursday, their team weighted runs created plus ranked 28th. They had a 75 weighted runs created plus. Team weighted runs created plus in their last 20 games. They've gone 6-14 in those games. As the Springfield radio studio just keeps giving us great surprises.
So I'm sitting in this chair that the arms on it, like they go up and down. You can adjust them wherever. So I went to pull this thing up and it just popped out. I am now holding in both my hands. You can't see this, but I'm holding the arm of my chair just in my hands
Yeah.
while I don't have one to my right. Anyway, the Cardinals, it's interesting because they have since August 6th, they have the third highest offensive wins above replacement, F4 at least, offensive F4, position player F4, whatever you want to call it. But they only have a 110 weighted runs created plus, which is not great. So my initial thought was they got to be doing a lot of work in high leverage situations. So with that being said, since August 6th, the Cardinals are slashing 280, 352, 437 for a 789 OPS and also 110 weighted runs created plus with runners in scoring position. That 280 batting average ranks 5th in the majors, 3rd in the National League.
All right. Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder if their base running is doing particularly well in the span.
I can check that
because that's like the second place I would go with that. But I mean, I'm trying to think of the players on that team. Like Tommy Edman is the only one that strikes me. Or I mean, Tommy Edman, maybe Harrison Bader on the bases could be an issue. But I'm trying to think. Like
I mean, like anyone can be a good base runner. Like BSR doesn't discriminate against slower players. It's about being smart and like making the right, stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's obviously not always measured in stolen bases. Pretty. I mean,
stolen bases are just very obsolete because they just don't really happen anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Cardinals now are in sole possession of that wild card spot, and it makes me wonder what their strength of schedule is.
It does. Their BSR in this span is 2.4, which is 8th in the majors.
Okay, interesting. So they're just kind of putting it all together. They're having good pitching, good offense, not having to overpower teams, but just, I mean, they've just been particularly good at like scoring more runs than the other team.
You have to wonder, is making your pitching rotation a retirement home like the new meta in baseball?
Yeah, like 2 years from now,
yeah. So many guys are going to come out of retirement soon.
Yeah, we're going to have CC's coming back. He's going to St. Louis. Who are some other recently retired? Rich Hill, most valuable player on the market. Yeah. Rich Hill.
For sure.
He's going to make $35 million.
Breaking news, the Oakland A's have signed Jared Weaver to a 1-year, $1 million deal. He will be their opening day starter.
Yeah. It's weird how we looked at the Cardinals like after the trade deadline. It was like, all right, well, they're kind of out on that. Out on this year.
And we were like, well, this team isn't trying anything. Paul Goldschmidt, since August 6th, he's slashing 343, 428, 642. Which is pretty excellent. That gives him a 1070 OPS, 184 weighted runs created plus. Edmundo Sosa, who's had such a weird streaky year since August 6th, 341, 408, 541, 949 for a 156 weighted runs created plus. And then also Tyler O'Neill, 293, 376, 569, 945 for a 153 weighted runs created plus. Those have been the three biggest contributors on offense for the Cardinals. Also, just shout out to Lars Nootbaar for being named Lars Nootbaar as well. I think that really helps the team a lot. Yeah,
and definitely an improvement for the name Lars.
Yep.
As the Red Sox.
As a reputation of baseball players.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at strength of schedule. So strength of schedule wise, the Cardinals have the 5th hardest schedule. So that's something to consider. They have a 3-game set against San Diego, which will tell us a lot. I think that's this upcoming weekend. And then, fortunately for them, they have 7 against the Cubs, who are, kind of a dead team right now. But also, they have 7 against the Milwaukee Brewers. So, maybe they're hoping that the Brewers are kind of foot off the gas pedal now that the division is pretty much the Brewers.
I believe the Brewers' matching number is 5. By the way, Daniel Curran has been activated off the IL.
Yeah, he's back. He's back with us, and we've been writing the narrative of Reds have the one of the easiest schedules. Still, at this point in the season, the Reds have the 3rd easiest schedule riding out, and the Cardinals have the fifth hardest, and the Padres obviously have the hardest, as they just are. I mean, they have a journey. They have a journey to try and get that wild card spot.
If the Padres somehow get there, they've earned it.
They definitely have. Oh, for sure.
Like, I know that they've been very disappointing this year, but, I mean, a lot of people would count them out, seeing their current position and their remaining schedule.
Yeah. And, I mean, mentally, that's kind of where I'm at, is like, it would be extremely surprising if they were able to pull this off somehow. I mean, I think a point that should be made is also, Cardinals have been doing well, 23-14 over the last 37 games is very good, but it's not like they're kind of storming out of the gates. I think it's more of a story on the disappointment of the Reds and the Padres.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. But I mean, you gotta you gotta give them credit for the way they've played recently. Like, Adam Wainwright has obviously been leading that rotation like it's 2014 again. Over his last 8 starts, he is 7-1 with a 1.40 ERA. Also a 2.52 FIP, but let's not forget, FIP isn't a very fair stat to evaluate Adam Wainwright by just by nature of he's not going to strike out guys. Yeah. But he also has a 1.72 walks per 9 and a 0.16 home runs per 9.
Right, exactly.
That probably means he's given up like 1 or 2 home runs over the last 8 starts. That's crazy.
That is crazy. And I was actually thinking about this before. How funny is it that 10 years ago, none of this would matter?
Yep.
The Dodgers/Giants would have this wrapped up. They probably, I think at this point they would have like one of those things locked up for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, the NL wildcard game is going to be weird, especially if the road team wins. It's going to be so weird.
The only thing we know about any of the wildcard games is that the NL game will be hosted in either San Francisco or Los Angeles.
Yes.
That's the one thing we can guarantee. Because both teams have clinched playoff spots.
True, yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's just funny how that all panned out.
How that works, yeah.
I mean, if somehow the Cardinals come in and beat the Dodgers, and then we're stuck with the Giants-Cardinals.
I mean, like, listen, if
NLDS.
the Cardinals win the wild card game, they can probably beat any team in the playoffs.
Yeah, pretty much.
Doesn't matter if it's the Dodgers or the Giants. You win a game, do or die game facing either Max Scherzer or Kevin Gausman, like, you can beat any team.
Yeah. You know what? That is true. That is true. They definitely would have earned their way in. All right, so do we want to get into how the AL has shaped up in the past few days?
Let's do that, but also one last point I have on the Cardinals. Don't forget, this is the 10-year anniversary of 2011.
That's true. You make a good point there.
Yeah.
Check out Part 2, Episode 82 for more details on that. But AL wildcard, I mean, what do you want to get out about it?
I feel like we should be closer. We're getting closer and closer every day to guaranteeing it'll be 2 AL East teams.
Right. Yeah.
Between the Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Yankees, all 3 of them are within. They're all tied, actually. They all have. I mean, the Blue Jays and Yankees have the same record. The Red Sox have played 2 more games, so they have 1 more win and loss. But they're all tied right now, so that's obviously really exciting. Those are all 3. All 3 of them are really good teams who deserve to be in the playoffs in some way.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. I think they all have 3 very different stories as well. The Yankees are kind of the team that's consistently been there over the past few years in terms of going to the playoffs. Coming into this year, they've made the playoffs 4 years in a row, and they were division favorites to start the year. Then you have Toronto. They have a young, very exciting, very offensive-heavy team. And then you have the Red Sox, who are kind of the surprise team, a team that, people didn't really expect to be there, but have had their own interesting path to get there. So it's pretty interesting, the stories of each of those 3 teams coming in. So Toronto just, they had a series against Tampa Bay and did pretty well, took 2 out of 3.
They did.
Which was very, very important for them.
Yeah, they've been. I mean, let me check what day they really started turning it on.
Um,
Do you have any numbers on them?
no, I don't really have any
Okay.
numbers particularly on the Blue Jays. But, I mean, just looking at the series, you just have guys stepping up. First game of the series on Monday, Alek Manoah, eight innings, 1 hit, no walks, 10 strikeouts. I mean, that's one of the you couldn't ask for anything better from a guy like that.
And that's your 5-starter.
Yeah, and the Blue Jays ended up scoring 8 runs that game. So, that was an easy win. Then they lost on Tuesday. And then yesterday, Robbie Ray, who is looking to be more and more like a Cy Young favorite, goes out and, has a very similar performance. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 13 strikeouts.
Would you like to guess the Blue Jays team weighted runs created plus since August 28th, which is the date where this all started?
August 28th. So that's about 2.5 weeks. I'm going to say 132.
Higher.
139.
Higher.
146.
Higher.
All right. 158.
A little lower.
Okay. 156.
Lower.
154.
It's 151.
It's 151.
Still. They've been half better than the average.
Yeah.
They've been average and a half.
Yeah, they have.
299, 378, 557 team/line over that span. That is hilarious.
Yeah, it is hilarious. I mean, they've they've definitely done their job. Even if you face the Orioles a certain amount of time, that's still ridiculous.
They scored 44 runs in 3 games against the Orioles. Doesn't matter who you're scoring 44 runs against in 3 games. You can't take that away. Vlad Jr. and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. both have a 200 weighted runs created plus in this span. Marcus Semien also has a 161. Teoscar Hernandez has a 183. Bo Bichette has a 173. Danny Jansen has come back from the dead with a 303. Alejandro Kirk with a 141. Breivik Valera with a 134. And all those guys have played in at least 8 games.
Yeah, that is something. And yeah, Marcus Semien is carrying the load as well. I remember he was hitting a lot of home runs to start the month of September. It's been their offense is something else. And yeah, I mean, I think the difference between where we had them at before the season and where we have them at now is they actually have a very reliable rotation now.
I feel like out of the 3, this is the Blue Jays might be the biggest. They have the best chance of being in that wild card game. I feel like they're the best team on paper, and I feel like if you had those 3 teams, you had to pick one of them, life on the line. You got to pick one of them and go to the wild card game. Would you pick Toronto? Because I would.
It's hard to deny them after the Tampa Bay series, but I've seen them. They did have I remember after the Red Sox series when they seemed to have all the momentum, they kind of had a little bit of a cold stretch. So
They did, but I mean, this is more momentum than they've ever had, probably since 2016.
Right.
Where they're at right now.
Right. I still say I'm still saying Red Sox because of strength of schedule, mostly because they faced the Orioles
6 times. Yeah.
6 times helps them out,
and the Nationals 3 times.
And the Red Sox don't have to face the Rays at all,
or the Blue Jays. They just have to face the Yankees 3 times.
Yeah. And it's not an insult on the Blue Jays, obviously. It's just who the Red Sox have to face. And maybe me being a little bit of an optimist.
Yeah.
Because they've just been a weird team in the second half. All right. Anything more on the AL wild card?
Yeah, I want to get a couple pitching numbers on the Blue Jays.
Oh, right, yeah.
I have some. Obviously, I gave you the hitting numbers.
There might be a how about that for Alek Manoah's performance. Because, I mean, what career start was that? I don't even know.
Probably 15 or so.
Yeah,
They have the 3rd highest pitching FWAR in the majors since August 28th, highest in the American League. They're literally only behind the Dodgers and Giants.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. 10.08 strikeouts per 9. They have given up a lot of home runs, though. 1.4 home runs per nine. That is, that's out of place with all the other good teams since then, as far as rotations.
Right. So Alek Manoah's performance on Monday was the sixth performance in baseball history by a pitcher in their first 17 career games with 8+ innings, no walks allowed, one hitter less allowed, and 10+ strikeouts. So 1 of 6. It's not getting a how about that button, but it was very impressive.
Who was the other 5?
So yeah.
Can I guess one?
Yeah.
Steven Strasburg.
No, I think he
No.
went 7.
Okay, yeah, you're
Or
right.
maybe he allowed more than one hit.
Maybe.
One of them you might be mad that you didn't get.
What year?
98.
El Duque.
No.
No. Not Kevin Brown. Kerry Wood.
Yep.
Yeah, Kerry Wood has to be one of them.
It was his 5th career start.
Yeah.
Where he went 9 one-hit innings with 20 strikeouts.
Yeah, obviously.
And then probably someone who will be drafted in our next episode, Kevin Millwood, had one of those performances. Shelby Miller, Matt Harvey, Chris Heston.
Chris Heston. No-hitter thrower.
Of the
only no-hitter thrower in the group, I believe.
Seems like it. Correct.
For sure.
So yeah, Alek Manoah, had a pretty historical performance on Monday, and then Robbie Ray was right up there with him on Wednesday. So I mean, that rotation looks to be in good hands. I don't even know if Ryu makes that playoff rotation.
Yeah, it's Ray game 1. It's Ray in the wild card game, and then it's Steven Matz game 1, Barrios game 2, or those can be interchangeable.
Yeah,
and then Ray game 3.
Yeah,
he might be the 4 starter.
Yeah, it might very well be. Depending on how many rest days they have.
Yeah.
I should look at Hyunjin Ryu's current stats.
Or do they put Manoah in there instead?
Right. Yeah. Manoah has a 3.39 ERA. I don't know what his expected statistics are, but Ryu's got a 4.11 this year, and a 3.82 FIP. So, I mean, Ryu might be pitching out of the bullpen in the in the playoffs if they make it there. So yeah, the Blue Jays continue to be fascinating as they just beat the Rays in a 3-game series. Pretty cool stuff. Before we get to players to highlight, someone who had a pretty significant place in baseball in the early 2010s, just retired. He was, 2007 Rookie of the Year, 2011 NL MVP, and came close to winning MVP again in 2012. Ryan Braun just retired from baseball. How old was he?
Probably 35, 36. That'd be my guess.
Around there. And it's interesting because, in the NL Central preview, we were saying, the Brewers have lost Ryan Braun, but he's probably going to sign back there at some point, and it just never happened.
It just didn't. He finished his career with a slash line of 296, 358, 532, 891. That's pretty good. B-WAR of 47.1, so depending on Fangraphs, it does not look like he will make my line of consideration for the Hall of Fame, which he wouldn't make it anyway, because we all know why. He is Jay Jaff wrote about this, but he has a very complicated legacy, because he was very, very unique at the steroid guys with the lengths he went to try to exonerate himself. I don't know if you saw, but I believe there was a story from 2013 on how he tried to he said that the person who took his test was a Cubs fan, and he was so Ryan Braun's Jewish, and he said he was anti-Semitic.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that is messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that not a lot of people. I'll try to find the story because I believe it was on ESPN.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's got to be one of the very complicated legacy. I mean, there's probably some how about that's you could have about his career, even though we know it's a little tainted. But he had 2 consecutive 30-30 seasons. I don't know how many other players have had 2 consecutive back-to-back 30-30 seasons. You can't really find consecutive seasons on StatHead, but that would be pretty interesting to see.
That's true. He had 34, 37, 32, 25, and 33 in each of his first 5 seasons. And then 41 in his 6th season. This is from SI. 2 independent reports portray Ryan Braun taking extreme means to get fellow Major League Baseball players on his side in baseball's first attempt to suspend him, including accusing a urine collector of being an anti-Semitic Cubs fan. Braun, who is Jewish, recently accepted a 65-game suspension in an agreement under the drug testing agreement. Braun failed his first MLB drug test in the spring of 2012, but won an appeal of MLB's 50-game suspension due to a chain of custody error and faulty protocol in the drug testing program. So that's the bad part of it. That's obviously not something that people should, that is something that people are going to think about when they think of Ryan Braun, whether they like it or not, because that is, that's not something you should be doing.
Right.
But, on the field, he was obviously terrific. He had one of the better starts to a career in recent history, won Rookie of the Year, won MVP, hit a home run to clinch the division for his team.
Mm-hmm.
Walk-off home run, I believe it was, or at least 8th inning or something.
Yeah, and even post steroids, he's still put up very good numbers. He had 278 with an 833 OPS post steroids, and that's also including age factor. He that was from age 29 to 36. Usually things slow down, and it kind of did, obviously for Braun, but having an 833 OPS from age 29 to 36. I mean, yeah, I think post steroid Ryan Braun was pretty underrated. I mean,
he was.
2015, he had a 2020 season, almost a 25-25 season. It's just that the Brewers weren't really relevant until the later 20 teens.
Exactly. I have. Actually, hang on. I'm gonna keep going on this. How about that? Because this seems really. I want to see how deep I can get.
Yeah.
With this.
I mean, yeah. Ryan Braun had a very interesting career.
Wow.
Because of some greatness early on.
Ryan Braun and Darryl Strawberry are the only players in Major League history to have 25 home runs and 10 stolen bases in each of their first 6 Major League seasons.
Wow. Yeah, I'll get the button out for that one.
It's deserving.
Ryan Braun. Yeah. Yeah, he was someone that kind of shaped the early 2010s. Like, you could have argued he was the best player in baseball at the time, and then, the reports come out, and, obviously drug tests come out and say, he's not exactly the player you thought he was. Which kind of stinks.
We believe in second chances, though, and you know what? He kind of, he had that he apologized on a public stage, and he kind of just kept going with his career and still put up exceptional numbers. I think his last year he had a 101 OPS plus, which was the worst he had in his career. So even at his very worst, he was league average. Yeah.
I mean, post steroid Ryan Braun, we both agree, pretty underrated. I mean, 2015, 854 OPS, 24 stolen bases. 2016, 903 OPS and 16 stolen bases. And yeah, he was active on the base paths. And I wonder what the issue was where he wasn't getting signed. Because I mean, who wouldn't want, especially in the National League this year, who wouldn't want a guy that can have a 100 OPS plus, weighted runs created plus, or whatever, on their bench to maybe pinch hit when there's a lefty on the mound, especially in today's game where there's 3 batter minimums. I mean, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird how it all ended for him.
Yeah, it is, but nonetheless, all good things must come to an end, and that has happened for Ryan Braun.
Right. luckily he was able to make some money in the league and get his some awards. Actually, it's wild to see his Baseball Reference page too, because he had MVP votes in each of the first 6 seasons of his career, which is pretty crazy. You know, he wasn't like top 5 every year like Trout, but he was top 3 of those times. He was on a very good track record, but we kind of know why.
I'd say
at this
like
point.
there's no wrong way to look at Ryan Braun. Like if you remember him for the steroid test and for everything he did, you're right for that. And if you remember him as a really good baseball player with a great prime, you're right for that too.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have to.
You're
agree
not.
with that.
You can't be wrong on whichever side of the career you want to look at.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
yes, it is true that he took steroids and acted very poorly about it. But yes, it is also true that with or without steroids, he had a very strong 14-year career with the same team.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's pretty undeniable. All right, so I guess that leads into players to highlight, or players or subjects to highlight for good and bad reasons. We'll start with the good reasons for our Thursday, September 16, 2021 edition of... So who do you got for us today?
My how about that is someone who I feel like a lot of people would be surprised to learn that this guy is still only 24 years old. Kyle Tucker
Yeah.
of the Astros. Over his last, I believe, 10 games since September 3rd, he is slashing .463, .542, .927. That's a slugging percentage of .927 for a .1468 OPS. His 291 weighted runs created plus is nearly 40 points higher than the next best hitter over that time. And during this stretch, his strikeout rate is half of what it has been all year, and his walk rate is nearly double what it has been all year. So he's been changing everything up for the better. This makes me laugh. He is second in the American League in ISO, while also having a .463 batting average.
Yeah, that's tough to do.
That's extremely difficult to do. 51.1% of his batted balls have been hard hit. That is very good. And overall this year, he's been very good outside of this stretch. He's 87th percentile in exit velo, 87th percentile hard hit rate, 96th percentile ex-WOBA, 99th percentile expected batting average, 97th percentile ex-slugging, 80th percentile in barrel rate, 82nd percentile in K rate, 78th percentile in whiff rate, and 86th percentile in outs above average. So he's doing just about everything well this season, and he's been particularly great over the last 10 or so games.
Yeah, Kyle Tucker. How many games is that? 10?
I think 10.
Maybe
12?
So yeah, and you mentioned last episode, anytime someone gets over the Bonzo 4 mark in a 10-game stretch, we're gonna try not to ignore it.
Yeah.
Unless it's, a very, very high
Unless it's like Juan Soto.
Yeah, unless it's a very high profile guy. My how about that is a little more high profile, but he's not like a crazy star. And he came up in the All-Star voting. People were calling it a very controversial moment in above replacement radio history. Yasmani Grandal, since coming back from injury, he is hitting .412 with a 1347 OPS in 15 games. This started with a game where he went 4 for 6 with 2 home runs and a double and 8 RBI. And that particular game where he came off the IL was the third game by a catcher in baseball history with 2+ home runs, 1+ double, and 8+ RBI. So he had a historic game to come back. In this 15-game span, he ranks third in average, second in on-base percentage, second in slugging, first in OPS, and second in FWAR. And lastly, in this span, his hard hit rate is 61.3%. The league average is about 35%, and he is up in the 60s. And his barrel rate also is 18.2%. That is also more than double league average. So Yasmani Grandal, coming back at the right time, getting ready for the playoffs, and man, he's killing it. So he is getting a.
I understand you didn't want to vote him into the All-Star game, but at least the guy you did vote for isn't someone you later asked if we could have a segment just to slander him.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure.
Well, I can get if a player's good enough to make an all-star team, but not having the greatest offensive catcher season ever.
Right, yeah, for sure.
I can understand if we're doing that.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
I still stand by everything I said in that episode.
That's unfortunate.
I still stand by it. I never said Salvador Perez overall was better than Grandal. I just said
you just said he deserved to be in the All-Star game because he was a better player so far, right? Yeah.
Better player so far in 2021 because he played 19 more games. He had similar offensive production.
And they had the same wins above replacement on Fangraphs.
Yeah, well,
with 19 less games.
Yeah, but with Yasmani's framing wasn't even that good on Statcast, so I didn't give into it.
He had the second lowest BABIP in the league.
Yeah, I don't really care. It's just the results on the field that I really care about.
Clearly.
All right, now we go from the highs to the lows, where we're talking players and subjects that have been underperforming. For our Thursday, September 16th, 2021 edition of
Slightly Alarming.
So, who do you got for us today?
So today on Slightly Alarming, I'm changing it up a little bit, doing something we haven't really done before. I'm talking about a San Diego Padre, Trent Grisham, who, we've done a lot of Padres this year, but if anyone is deserving of a Slightly Alarming, it would be this right here. Over his last 9 games, Trent Grisham is slashing .057, .081, .086 for a 167 OPS. I don't even need to tell you that all of those are last in the majors. That's kind of just obvious. His weighted runs created plus is -56. And he's qualifying too. -56 weighted runs created plus over 9 games. That is by far the worst in the league. And also his .077 WOBA is the only among qualifiers that is below 135. Just for some context, the league-wide slash line for pitchers during this time frame is 127, 173, 168, 340. So in this time, if you were to bring a pitcher to the plate, he would be twice as likely to be productive as Trent Grisham.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah. That is. This is also the only 9-game stretch in Padres history, minimum 30 plate appearances, with a batting average below .060, an OBP below .085, a slugging percentage below .090, and 14-plus strikeouts. So you can make the case that what we've seen from Trent Grisham is the worst offensive 9-game stretch a Padres position player has ever had.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Slightly alarming.
They've been around for 53 years now.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to, but I believe he is having another 10-10 season, which is
big.
Very, very big.
One thing I will say, he had a .081 OBP compared to a 157 batting average, 1 hit by pitch, and 2 reach on errors. He has not walked a single time. So, he actually should be worse.
Yeah, well,
let's say those errors get converted.
No, errors don't count for on-base percentage.
Okay, then it's the hit by pitch. Then.
Yeah, so it's only the hit by pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. So, yeah, he hasn't even walked.
Yeah, he has not walked. He has 1 extra base hit, which was a double.
Right. Yeah, that's tough. Tough for my 2021 Padres player to watch. My slightly alarming is a freeze over, but at least it is my how about that I'm freezing over this time. It is Dansby Swanson, who had a pretty quick turnaround himself. In his last 17 games, he is hitting 137 with a 442 OPS. Out of 165 qualifiers in this span, he ranks 163rd in average, 159th in on-base percentage, 164th in slugging, second worst, and 163rd in OPS, which is third worst. And before this span, his average exit velocity was 89.6 miles per hour, and his hard hit rate was 45%, which is pretty nice. But in this span, his average exit velocity is 84.6 miles per hour, down 5 miles per hour, and his hard hit rate is 26%, which is down 19%. So, Dansby Swanson getting a
Slightly alarming.
And also a freeze over. All right, so now we get into a preview of the weekend ahead. I think we've got some solid baseball coming up as the races are ever so tightening. Currently, it is Reds. Reds are up 1-0 on the Pirates in the bottom of the ninth with no outs and an 0-2 count. All right, so
0-3.
all right, one down in the Reds game. So this upcoming weekend, we have Friday. That starts a Reds-Dodgers series. Pretty big for both teams, obviously, as the Dodgers are in the dead heat of an NL West race, and the Reds are in the dead heat of an NL wildcard race. So, both teams are going to be working hard to get that series, and that'll be hosted at Great American Ballpark. And then, these series to watch would be Cardinals-Padres. It's also a playoff rematch from last year. It's going to be a 3-game series between two teams that are fighting for that National League wildcard spot. I should see how far away they are currently at the moment. Yeah, they're 1 game apart at the moment, so Padres, Cardinals would be the premier series to watch this upcoming weekend. What do you got for day-by-day matchups?
So not a ton going on today. Obviously, a lot of games have already started. Kyle Hendricks is pitching for the Cubs against the Phillies. Framber Valdez is going for the Astros against the Rangers. Matchup of the night, I guess, comes from Padres Giants, which kicks off in about 15 minutes. Pierce Johnson versus Kevin Gausman. So, I guess it's not really worth looking out for if you already know when it's coming. It's going to be over by the time this is out. But anyway, on Friday, Zach Plesac will be going for the Indians, which means they're going to get no hit. But the cool thing is that they're going to get no hit by Corey Kluber.
Oh wow! So he's gonna have 2 no-hitters in the same year,
right?
That's
and
great.
and it's his first time facing his old team, which is cool. You have Kyler Freeland going for the Rockies against the Nationals. He'll be going up against Josiah Gray, which his numbers don't speak very well this year, but he's been better than you think. I promise. Casey Mize will be going for the Tigers against the Rays. Zach Wheeler and Taijuan Walker will be facing each other in Phillies Mets. That's a big series in New York. Adrian Hauser will pitch for the Brewers against the Cubs. You have Chris Flexen pitching for the Mariners against the Royals in Kansas City. You have Logan Webb going for the Giants against the Brave in San Fran. And matchup of the night comes from Dodgers at Reds, Walker Buehler versus Luis Castillo.
That's a good one.
Easy one. So going into Saturday, you also have Max Scherzer and Sonny Gray facing each other. Going back to, of course, Dodgers and Reds. You have, let's see, what do you have? You have Lance Lynn going for. This is the weekend of reunions. Lance Lynn going for the White Sox against the Rangers.
Oh right.
In Texas.
Yeah.
So he'll be returning there. You have Yusei Kikuchi going for the Mariners against the Royals. Aaron Nola and Carlos Carrasco facing each other in Phillies and Mets, and then you have Bailey Ober and Steven Matz facing each other in Twins Blue Jays. Bailey Ober, for those of you who don't know, pitching very well recently, and Steven Matz was a how about that. James Caprillion and Jose Suarez will face each other in Athletics and Angels. Those are 2 very different trending pitchers, with Suarez on the up and up and Caprillion struggling a bit. Matchup of the night comes from Padres Cardinals, Yu Darvish versus Adam Wainwright. 2 completely different types of pitchers who are still both very good.
Yeah.
Let's see. What do we got on Sunday? We got Anthony DeSclafani pitching for the Giants against the Braves. Lucas Giolito pitching for the White Sox against the Rangers. Eric Lauer pitching for the Brewers against the Cubs. He's been pitching well lately. Sandy Alcantara going for the Marlins against the Pirates. Willie Peralta going for the Tigers against the Rays. And John Gray going for the Rockies against the Nationals. You also have Kyle Gibson and Rich Hill facing each other on Sunday Night Baseball. And matchup of the night, once again, comes from Dodgers, Reds, even though it's matchup of the day. Clayton Kershaw versus Wade Miley. A couple of left-handers.
I liked Gibson versus Hill for the don't throw over 91 matchup.
Yeah. Well, Gibson,
I think Gibson, to his credit, gets it up there a little more.
He can throw 91.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to kill you with his velocity, but You know, I mean, he's above the don't throw it above 91.
Right. Yeah. But he just,
Let's see.
two pitch to contact guys for sure.
I just want to see exactly what his average fastball velocity is.
I would say 91.7.
He's a sinker ball pitcher, but it's 92.3.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
He throws his four-seam fastball all of 13% of the time. So
no disrespect to Kyle Gibson.
yeah.
Should we talk about like what our next episode is going to be?
We've kind of already talked about it on the show, but
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, yeah, we're doing, early 2010s irrelevant draft.
We're calling it the I haven't heard that name in years draft.
Yeah, and if you don't know the vibe, you're gonna get it pretty quickly once these picks start rolling in. That's all we can say because we don't even want to say names because we don't want to get ideas into other people's heads.
Which we've already done that a ton.
Yeah.
Can we say? I guess we'll save it for next time. How the draft idea came about.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll preface it when Nico and Bono are here because they were in the car and then Rob was eventually called in and just started dropping some bangers for irrelevant 2010s players.
It's gonna be such a fun draft. I'll say this because nobody's draft board is gonna look the same.
Yeah.
Like whoever goes number 1 overall might not even be on my draft board or Chris's draft board, depending on who has the first pick. We don't know the draft order yet.
Right. That's true. That's very true.
You know what? Let's set the draft order right now. Live on air?
Yeah.
Or should we save that?
Actually,
you know what? We haven't. Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah, we haven't disclosed really much
We
information.
have to communicate a little more before we do that.
Yeah, I think we should do that.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. It would have been fun to do on the air, but if we had communicated a little earlier, but we're kind of still putting it together. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed this one. If you're listening, never mind on that. If you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Giant. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran. And follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. And follow, we hope you enjoyed this one. And we hope to see you on Monday with presumably Nico Fasella, Bono Siddhartha, and Rob Dickey, where we're doing the 2010s irrelevant, you haven't heard this name in years draft. See you then.
This conversation is over.